So let's talk about percents. The word percent literally means per and then cent, literally per out of cent hundred. So percent means out of 100. And if you think about it, it actually comes from if you think about the percent side, right? So 5%, that's the percent sign. Think about where that comes from. If I write the number 100, the percent sign actually comes from taking the 0, taking the 1, kind of making it, let's see if I can stretch it out. Yeah, there we go. Taking the 1 and then taking the other 0, and that's the percent sign. It came right out of the number 100. So when I say 5%, that's the same thing as 5 out of 100. If I say 3.2%, that's the same thing as 3.2 over 100. Okay, if I said 250%, that's the same thing as 250 over 100. Okay. So, and then you should be able to turn these into decimals. So 5 hundredths is 5 in the hundredths place, so 0.05. Nothing in the tens place, and then 5 in the hundredths place. 3.2%, 3.2 out of 100, well, we need to figure out what that would be, since we can't have a decimal in a decimal, right? It can't be 0.032 we can't have 0.03.2, right? You couldn't write 0.03, which would be 300ths, 0.2. That doesn't make any sense. You can't have two decimals. So we'd have to think about what this would be. What would this be without the decimal in the 3.2, which means we'd multiply by 10 over 10, and we get 32 over 1,000. So 3.2% would be 32 thousandths. So that means 3 in the hundredths place, 2 in the thousandths place. And then 250% would be 250 over out of 100, which is, so that's more than 1, so it's 2.5. 2.5, 100. So remember that 100% is just 1. It's a good way to start. 100% is just 1. So that's how you would turn the percentage into a number. Another way to think about it is if you take, let's go to 5% again. If you take 5%, I'm going to put, let me copy these and do them down here so I don't get rid of this. So let's make a copy. I'll do this down here, paste this here. Okay, I'll do it in a different color just so it looks different. There we go. That's better. So if I say 5%, if I think about putting a decimal point here for 5%, in order to turn that into a decimal, since it's out of 100, I would essentially be dividing 5 by 100. So whoops, I don't want to, let me erase this bit. So I'd be dividing 5 by 100, which means I move the decimal point over 1, 2 places, add a 0. So that's 5%. Same thing with 0.32%. Take the decimal, right? And let me move that 1, 2 places, erase the decimal point there, and put a 0 here. So that becomes, that's 3.2%. Let's erase that. And then 250%, right, the decimal point is there. Okay, erase the percent. Oops. And take that decimal point and move it over 1, 2 places. So that's 2.5, and that's 250%. Okay. So that's changing a percent to a decimal. Going the other way, I move the decimal point in the other direction. So if I want to change 0.05 to show that it's 5%, I take the decimal point and move it 2 places back. So that's 5%. Same thing here, take the decimal point 2, because I'm essentially multiplying by 100. Take the decimal point here, whoops, 2, and then you can see how it kind of works back and forth like that. Let's just put that back. Okay, so that's how you would change decimals to percents and percents to decimals, right? You're multiplying by 100 or you're dividing by 100. But the thing to remember that a percent is out of 100, so you can always write the decimal or as a fraction, and then, 5 hundredths, that works. 32 thousandths, that's the same as 3.2 hundredths, that's 0.032. 0.032. 250 hundredths, that's 2.5. All right, you can think of 250 hundredths as 2 and 5 tenths, right? So so that would, the 2 is 200%, and 1/2 or 5/10 is 50%. So that's another way you can think about that. So hopefully that will help you with changing percents to decimals.